Hello and welcome to NextEnergy's UP EV Readiness Workshop Wrap-Up. I'm Jim Saber, I'm the President and CEO of NextEnergy. Along with me here today is Tim Slusser, our Director of Smart Mobility Initiatives, and Eric McDonald, our Director of Testing and Infrastructure Development. Today we just wanted to recap what took place during our UP EV Readiness Workshop, and just to go over a couple of things. It was a great half-day event where we had over 80 people representing 13 or 14 different cities in the Upper Peninsula, and then others from around the state of Michigan, to really discuss and learn about EV charging benefits, and what do we need to think about and look for as we invest in building out a statewide network. The first thing that we talked about in the day was, let's kind of set the groundwork and the baseline for EV charging. And so Tim led the group through what I would kind of call EV Charging 101, highlighting the benefits of EVs and EV charging systems, and what are some of the business models and opportunities that you have when you look for electrified mobility. So Tim, can you just kind of give us a quick overview of your talk, and maybe what were one or two of the great questions that the audience had for you?
Yeah, so thank you, Jim. My talk was about, as you mentioned, like kind of EV charging 101, but it also included a little bit of EV 101, right? What is an electric vehicle? What do we mean here? How's it different from a conventional vehicle? So it was really about taking for some of the members of the audience, potentially the unfamiliar, right? And making it familiar so that it's not as scary, right? So we can actually start to talk about these things. And then as we moved into the deployment of EV charging infrastructure, they could kind of better understand what all that meant. So we talked about, level 1, level 2, DC fast charging, those sorts of things. And we talked a little bit through business models as well, right? What you can charge for electricity, how you can charge for electricity, all those sorts of things. In terms of questions, I'll kind of pick my favorite. And my favorite question was, what are some unique ways that municipalities can leverage their charging infrastructure investment to try and create a quicker return on that investment, or recoup their costs, if you will, right? And my favorite way to do that is actually if the municipality that is deploying the charging infrastructure has the ability to purchase or convert one of their vehicles on their fleet, their city or state fleet, to an electric vehicle, even if it's a plug-in hybrid that doesn't have hundreds of miles of range. This can be a fantastic way to leverage that asset and actually create a benefit right there in their own local community. So,
great. So now that we learned a little bit about the EV business, Eric, you walked the group through what are some of the things that you need to know and plan for in installing EV charging stations. Can you give us a little overview of your presentation? And again, what were some of the questions that the audience had for you?
Okay. I'd say the major things you need to do when you're considering a EV charging installation is you need to contact your building department to make sure that you're putting in according to their codes, which includes zoning, different regulations, as well as electrical code. And you also need to talk to your utility, because your utility needs to make sure that they have the site has capacity available to be able to site an electric vehicle charger. And as far as questions, I would say the question that most people ask someone dealing with facilities or construction is, what's the cost going to be? Level 2 residential, you can expect to charge $130 per kilowatt installed for an electric vehicle charging system. For a level 2 commercial system, you're going to more than likely pay $400 per kilowatt, and DC fast charging will also likely cost $400 per kilowatt. So for your level 2 commercial charging system, it's probably going to be somewhere around $10,000 to $20,000. And for your DC fast charging, it will more than likely be over $100,000. But don't let that scare you away, because this is something that will pay itself with a pretty good return on investment.
Appreciate that. Great information there. And so as a little teaser for everyone here, if you want to understand in detail the difference between level 1, level 2 residential, level 2 commercial, and DC fast charging, check out the entire webinar on our webpage, www.nextenergy.org. And the entire webinar is going to be posted in with all that information. But a great point, Eric, when you mentioned, the cost of installing these charging systems. One of the things that we want to do is we want to make sure that we have a sufficient and robust network that's going to support, the early stages of EV travel and, build out for the future. So we were fortunate enough to have Dr. Marnez Kamani from Michigan State University provide an overview of a statewide study that they performed that would identify and highlight, the ideal locations for EV charging systems in the state, and in many cases, the number of different the different number of chargers that you would need to have per site or per zip code. So there's a lot of great information available for you, for the communities. If you're on, that that map, please look into this. And if you're close to the map, then this also could be a great opportunity for you. And so that information, again, is also available on EGLE's website. And EGLE is the Michigan Department of Environment, Great Lakes, and Energy. Tim, as kind of wrapping it up, I want to kind of turn it back over to you because, one of the, how we finished the panel was the workshop was with a panel discussion from 3 utilities in the Upper Peninsula, and then also a presentation from Julie Stavelin, who is the Charge Up Michigan Program Manager. So you can just kind of give us a quick highlight of those sessions?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was fortunate enough to moderate the UP utility panel. And so what we did is we brought on UPCO, WPPI, and Cloverland Electric, right? So we had a little bit of a mix of the different types of utilities up there, investor-owned, co-op, and like municipally focused. And really, the goal there was to try to help the attendees kind of understand where these utilities were in their development process, but also to really stress the importance of engaging with your utility as part of anyone's process for deploying EV charging infrastructure, right? So Eric talked a little bit about all the intricacies that go into it, and a lot of what he was talking about was kind of he didn't say it directly, but it was focused on safety, right? So this is high power, this is complicated stuff. What we really want to make sure is that things are safe, right? So engaging with the utility. The net result, none of the utilities that we had on our panel session have programs today. But part of the takeaway is that's okay, right? We're still pretty early in this process in terms of, EV adoption in the US. And, you want to engage early, right? These utilities and any utility, needs to know from their customers, what the customer needs and demands are. So, engaging with utilities now to help them kind of, chart that path and develop the right programs and opportunities so that we can deploy EV charging infrastructure, here in Michigan and elsewhere is really important. And then Julie, did a fantastic job, as she always does, talking about the EGLE program, right? The Charge Up Michigan program. Why they're focused on this, where that they, have had some success, and part of what they're really looking for at a state level, and just trying to summarize that at a high level, it's, the state of Michigan really wants anyone that owns an EV at some point in the near future to be able to travel pretty much anywhere in the state of Michigan and always be within, a close proximity to charging infrastructure, right? So that, tourism is a big business in the state of Michigan, right? We've got some fantastic things to see around the state. I happen to love, camping in the lakes. And, the state wants to, make sure that those things are accessible. So Julie did a great job of kind of laying that out there for the audience, as well as talking about the program, how to apply, and the fact that there are still dollars available.
So the last thing I wanted to wrap up with is one of the other things that we offered as part of the workshop was a chance to engage one-on-one with our team. And so a chance is to set up specific meetings with Tim and Eric to talk about, learn more about charging, talk about specific installations. And we had a handful of cities reach out to us for those meetings. And we also had probably another dozen folks reach out to us the traditional way of picking up the phone or writing an email. And so lots of activity going on and lots of interest within the communities to install charging. But also that's an opportunity for everyone viewing this to reach out and engage with us if you're interested more in how do you become part of a network, how do you, or just you want to install and plan for EV charging within your business or in your community. And so, look for us on our website. Tim's contact information is on our website. Eric's is on our website. And please check out the entire webinar, which is going to be posted on NextEnergy's website. So we thank you for being with us today, and happy EV charging.